Hello and welcome to Coaster Strike. My name is Tom, and in today's video I'm going to be taking you through my top 10 tips and tricks for playing Planet Coaster Console Edition. Now some of these you may have heard of, others maybe not, but hopefully there's at least one or two in there that can help you with your park building. And who knows, maybe one of them will completely change your Planet Coaster playing life forever. So be sure to stay tuned so that you don't miss out on that. If you do find any of these tips particularly helpful, be sure to click the like button so that I'm aware and so that other people can see the video, and maybe let me know down in the comments which one. But with that out of the way, let's begin. So, you can see here I'm building myself a coaster, and I'm building the chain lift at the moment, and, well, I want to know how high it is. And, well, with the default options there's no way to know that. But if you go onto height markers on the settings, you can make sure that they're on. Terrain relative will be based on the terrain below, and sea level will be based on the entire level of the park, so basically where the entrance is. To be honest, the sea level one you're never really going to need, it's all about the terrain. I thought I could demonstrate how the terrain feature worked by building some terrain underneath it, but because Planet Coaster is mad at me from the argument we had last night, it decided not to work. So now that you know how tall your coaster is, that's all great, but maybe you're American and you want it in feet, or maybe you're specifically trying to build a Giga or a Strata or a Hypercoaster. So you can, here on the settings, you can change in this tab the distance unit, which is basically feet, meters, centimeters, what have you, and then you can also change how speed is measured, so whether it's kilometers per hour, miles per hour, or meters per second. Now you can guarantee that your coaster is flying off of a 30-foot ramp. So now that you've finished building your coaster, it's time to build a station. Let's get the paths over and done with nice and quickly in a time lapse, because let's be honest, that's not the most interesting to watch. Now you can see that the queue path that I used changed the path on the station here, but on the other side it's a little bit messy. But by using the queue paths and hovering over the station, you can change it to any of the queue paths that you want. Now unfortunately this doesn't work for the regular paths, I'm not entirely sure why, I guess it's just a specific queue path thing. But now it matches on both sides. Okay, so now it's time to build a path layout for your park, and you might decide that you want a circle. Now the way to do this is to have an angle snap on and put the angle right down to 5, or I guess you could have it higher if you wanted a smaller circle, and then if you're repeating this process of going exactly the same each time using angle snap, it means that in the end you can get a perfect circle. Looks really nice, and I quite like the effect. Now another useful path-based tip is that you can use the regular paths this time, not the queue paths, to change the base of any flat ride. So I've used the carousel here for an example, but this time for some reason it doesn't work with the queue paths. I'm not quite sure why it's like that, why flat rides use regular paths and coasters use queue paths, but that's just the way it is. But one thing you can do with this is by using the grass paths, or the trodden grass paths, you can create this effect of just a sort of flat ride on its own in a field, which works really well for a travelling fair style park if you wanted to build with something like that. And yep, it looks a bit weird with the sort of entrance and exit, they seem a bit unnecessary, but you can sort of shape it up, use barriers if you wanted to, fences, whatever it was, and make it look a bit more natural. But yeah, as I said, great for travelling fairs, really nice effect. Now if you look at the grass here, it's a little bit plain, simple, messy. Well, not messy actually, it's just very flat. And, well, you want a bit more variation. So one thing that I worked out you can do is that you can use these bushes, particularly this type, I can't remember what it's called, cressute, I can't read that. But if you sink that into the ground and place it, make sure to spin it and vary it each time, but you can create this effect of sort of taller grass, and if you maybe recolor it or use it in a darker area, it looks really great, and in the end it looks like this. It's almost like your own mini little jungle. So let's head back over to our coaster over here, and unfortunately I'm going to have to kick off all of these unlucky guests even if they've been waiting in line for an hour. So let's hop on the ride and have a look at the POV. Now, as you can see, the layout is mediocre because, let's be honest, I built this in 2 minutes for the video, but more importantly, it's rough. It's really rough. The transitions are instant, the turns are just bumpy as hell, and no one's really gonna ride it. So, one thing you can do is to smooth out the track, a special feature added by Frontier. You simply hold A on Xbox or Square on PlayStation and use the left cursor to move this blue circle thingy. Remember, you have to keep on holding it down. Then you release everything and just press A. It's that simple, and it allows the game to automatically make the track smoother while still following the shape that you built it in. It's really, really clever. I'm not entirely sure how it works, but if you watch this time-lapse of me smoothing the entire coaster, and then we'll have a look at it side by side compared to the other coaster, and see how much difference it actually makes. Because, to be honest, this is the thing that separates great coasters from good coasters on the Xbox Workshop. So, hopefully you agree, totally worth it, even if it does take a while. So now I've got this little cave that the coaster runs through, and I'm going to light it up for the night time. And, well, it's a bit tricky to build in here with the normal camera mode, so I go into first person, and, well, it's a bit tricky to move it around still. Can shape it though, turn it, rotate it, move it with the special 3D gizmo, but then I click off accidentally, and it gets a bit messy. But the special feature is use LT and RT to send it forwards and backwards from your perspective and point of view, which is always so useful when you're building in first person mode. I constantly find myself using it, and it's really useful when you're building in these small tight spaces that are just usually impossible to use. But yeah, when you can utilize it in the right way, it's totally worth it and a great feature. So next up is the Magma Effect, a very cool sounding name, I know. Now, fair warning, this one does require the Adventure DLC pack, but basically what you do is, if you place down a magma square, and then basically right next to it put another one, overlapping so that they clip, then whenever you're moving, it gets this cool, almost flowing lava effect, which I have to give credit to Theo, the other member of this channel. He totally worked this one out by himself, very much his idea. You can watch one of his videos in the top right now, but it gets this really cool magma flowing effect. And if you utilise it well, especially on a coaster, you can see this looks really awesome and creates a very dominant effect. And so we're finally at our 10th and final tip/trick. This one's about changing the colour of your menu setup. Just go to this tab, the same one for changing the length measurements, and you can see at the top you've got all these different colours. You can go purple if you want to maybe go for a spooky style. I'm not entirely sure. Well, I guess it's just to add a custom feel to the game. You've got the aquamarine, or, you've got red. I really hate the red. So there you go, my top 10 tips and tricks for playing Planet Coaster Console Edition. As I said, some of them you may have heard of before, others may have been absolute game changers. Though I doubt it, if you did enjoy the video, be sure to like it, let me know down in the comments below, and maybe even subscribe for more tips and tricks, as well as ride POVs, park reviews, DLC stuff, let's plays, and more Planet Coaster Console content on our channel. But otherwise, I hope that you've enjoyed the video, found it useful, and I'll see you all next time.